Howdy, folks. Good evening. I like to discuss a topic again in Bible and science. And I like to look this time to mutations. People say that evolution has taken place and that we are here by random chance of by means of mutations that a couple of years or billion years ago that some prebiotic molecules have gathered together and decided to becoming a living cell. Well, in the first place, that has never been proven. That's not the topic which I want to discuss now. Although that in itself proves that there is no evolution possible, because if abiogenesis never took place, then the whole process of evolution is baloney to talk about or even to consider. You must have something to start with. Okay, but let's assume that there is something to start with, a living cell, which there were not. But then again, you come across the topic of mutations, and it makes scientific sense that mutations will never, ever, never lead to improvement of genetic material. And I will make a statement why that is. Well, in the first place, mutations are supposedly drive the process of the supposed evolution. There is no evolution, and I'll show you why there cannot be evolution. But mutations are supposed to be the driving force behind evolution and cause so-called beneficial mutations. Well, the whole thing of beneficial mutation is not valid, and the reason why is that mutations are, in a way, they are a random input of energy, and there is a problem with a random input of energy. If you randomly input some energy, then that is either neutral or destructive. Only in this case that this random energy is guided by intelligent designed structure. For example, if you have a car, if you have an explosion, then this explosion can cause only damage or be neutral. And only in the case that an explosion is put in an engine of some kind, like a car engine, a boat engine, or a rocket engine, and stuff like that, then the energy, which is still random, but only then it can be made to good use. It can be increasing the order and the orderness, and decrease the chaos. That is not the case in random energy input without intelligence, making use of intelligence. And there is a reason why. I mean, a random energy input does not know, because there is no input, knowledge input, when to stop. So random energy keeps going on without knowing when to stop. And suppose that something is created, then random energy makes also sure that it's destroyed at the same time, in the same process. So random energy needs information, needs intelligence, needs intelligent guidance in order to be constructive. Now, mutations are initiated by a form of random energy input. Mutations are initiated by radiation that can be cosmic, from outer space, from the sun, but also from blasting up stars, or from supernova or other stars. It can be from the sun by UV light. There is high energetic UV light that can destroy or bring about mutations. And there is a radioactive decay of elements, which causes radiation. There is also a natural decay in our bodies of some elements. I mean, you have in your body carbon-14, which may decay into nitrogen-14, and so that may cause a mutation in your genetic material. Another issue is with copy errors. Also, when the cells are dividing and splitting up, there is a chance of random copy errors, and but also the exposure of carcinogenic agents or carcinogenic chemicals. You can think of carcinogenic chemicals in food. If you have a piece of steak and you bake it too long, then it becomes blackened. And in that blackened meat or vegetables or potatoes, etc., all kinds of chemicals arise that are carcinogenic. That's why you're not supposed to eat it. Also with smoking cigarettes, if you have some fumes from the car, these are explosions in the car from petrol, and these can cause fine dusts, but also carbon dust on which are very carcinogenic components added on top of it. I mean, if you have to think on carcinogenic components, you can think of benzene, toluene, what kind of stuff? Chromium 6. These are very known carcinogenic components, but they also may end up if you bake your food too hard. And these are the main sources of mutations in your body or in any organism's bodies. And but we all know that these sources, they are causing cancerous and dangerous sicknesses to our bodies. So people are trying to avoid these kind of sources. Well, if these sources would really help you to evolve to a better human, why avoid this stuff? So this in itself proves that since you try to avoid these evolution enhancing components, that evolution can never be true, because otherwise why would you refuse to expose yourself to it? It makes no sense. Also, like mobile phones, if you keep them in your breast pocket here, people have that a lot of stuff, or some ladies have put it in between their breasts. And what they develop is also a cancerous spot over there. There is a girl who used to put always her mobile phone in her bra, and she developed in that spot. She developed a cancer. So also mobile phones can induce cancerous stuff. It brings about mutations, and mutations brings about cancer. So that proves that mutations are not nice. You try to avoid them. And if you really think that these kind of mutations will help you to evolve, then expose yourself to it. I mean, that's up to you, but there is a strong warning that you will gain cancer, most probably. So, and this is caused by random energy input or random energy sources or random contact with not so nice chemicals, etc. Next to this, mutations, if they occur, they usually, what is scientifically seen, is that the mutations take place only in a very teeny weeny spot on the DNA, so that only one or two letters are coding letters are changed, and the rest stay stable. So it does not change the whole sequence in a beneficial way. Next to this, what is the definition of being beneficial? Usually the most scientific produced documents, if not all, are describing beneficial, that the organism has mutated beneficial to us humans. But that does not mean that it's beneficial for the organism. For example, if you have a grape or grapefruit, you can produce them seedless. Well, for us that's beneficial, of course, but not for the grapefruit. And that's called evolutionistic. Technically spoken, that is not a beneficial mutation. It's beneficial to us, that's true, but it's not a beneficial mutation for the organism to survive or to become better. Next to that, like I said before, mutations are only in hotspots. They're only small regions. They are very sensitive to mutations. Another issue is that if mutations take place, they always migrate to one or two letters and not to the whole range of letters. You have four letters, A, T, G, and C. Adenine, tyrosine, guanine, and uracil. Oh, that's U. Yeah. And well, you can find it up, look it up in Google, which these letters are. But it turns out to be that, as far as I can remember, I do this all by out of the back of my head. So I think that the letter T is the most favored letter in if things mutate, then it mutates mostly to the T. So what you will get is only T's in the end, and maybe one in so many times it turns back, but then always it turns back to a T again later on. So if mutations take place, you end up with a whole string of T's, and that represents nothing. I mean, these DNA strings, they are supposed to code for a protein, and protein you need in your body they are the machines of your body, so to say. And these machines need to be working as they're supposed to work. And if you have a mutation that cause only in the DNA for the letter T to end up in your DNA, then you get a non-functional protein, and so which not enhances evolution and etc. So in all these situations, and this is scientific, this is established knowledge, scientific knowledge. So from all the things that are published about mutations is what we see is degenerative. So if mutations take place, the only thing which results it in is in degeneration instead of evolution. So in loss of knowledge, a loss of genetic coding, so that the organism turns out worse than it started off. That's what we saw with the fruit flies. They were nuked, they were put in a microwave, they were treated with chemicals and stuff like that. And the only thing what happened is that the organism, the fruit fly, got worse and worse and worse. Starting with an original fly, the flies deteriorate instead of gaining DNA so that they could evolve. So the opposite process has been observed, degeneration, but that is contrary to what evolution is requiring. So this all together, and these degeneration, mutative degeneration, that has been scientifically observed and peer-reviewed, documented. But beneficial mutations have never been documented. And if they are documented, then it's always beneficial to us humans and not to the organism. So, well, that's not how evolution is supposed to work according to the theory, what the idea of evolution tells us. So basically, we can conclude that scientifically spoken, there is no scientific ground to accept evolution as a valid theory, because the whole process, the driving forces behind evolution are not working as the theory requires them to work. And that should make you think, where do we come from then? Well, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth, and all that in them is, including you and me, etc. And God created the human beings as being perfect, just as all organisms. And due to the sins, Adam and Eve sinned. They chose to eat, to disobey the rule that God has put. Don't eat from the fruit, otherwise the very day you will die, or the process of death will start entering your life. They did not listen, and from that moment on, the process of death had its influence in our existence here on Earth. And that's the source of death. That's also the source of mutation, in which case the mutation causes cancer and illnesses and sicknesses and bacteria to grow wild and causes all kinds of illnesses. That's what happens with these kind of mutations. These mutations do happen, but they break down the organisms like bacteria and causes illnesses. That's where the bacteria come from, viruses come from, fluenza, all kinds of bacteria that start becoming doing crazy things and make you sick. In that case, the mutations have happened. Next to that, what we also there is also a theory, and I don't know if it's true yet. I have to figure it out. That God made everything well, and that there is some kind of variety based on breaking down the genetic code, and that based on that some mutations happen that are neutral, or like in sickle cell anemia, they cause an extra nice by-effect, but you still die young. And so it seems to be evolution, but it's not, because you die at the age of 30 instead of 70. But as a nice by-effect, you don't get malaria. Well, that's not evolution, that's countering evolution. Well, this is what I want to share. I wanted to make clear that evolution, the driving forces behind the supposed evolution, are in fact scientifically peer-reviewed, factual, countering the process, the hypothetical process of evolution. So based on this all, evolution cannot be a valid model of how life came to be. And then we get back to what God has said, that He created the entire creation and He is the source of all life. He's the source of life, and if you want to stay connected with the source of life, you better connect with God via Jesus Christ. And then you get your life back again. As long as you don't do that, you are maybe physically alive, but spiritually you're dead from God's perspective. And if you don't make a choice for Jesus Christ, for God and Jesus Christ, then you remain in this status, and then if you never choose for God, for Jesus Christ, then, and I'm not your judge of course, but then the Bible says that you will end up in hell. And I try to prevent that by doing this kind of stuff. I mean, everybody, we all deserve hell because of what we did in the past. We all sinned, we all did wrong things towards God, and from God's perspective we are all sinners. That's why we need Jesus to come back alive again, because and with life I mean living with God. I mean we are seemingly living here, but we are spiritually dead as long as we are not connected with God via Jesus Christ. Okay, this is what I want to share. The evolution theory cannot be a valid theory, because the driving forces are not valid to support the supposed evolution processes. This is what I want to share. Thanks for watching. Hasta la basta. If you have questions, ask them. See you next time. Hasta la basta. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.